Also, I think that this shirt was like a bad choice for the vlog because I think it's messing up with the camera. Oh well, you wanted a casual vlog, so you got a casual vlog. Hello, writerly friends, and welcome back to NaNoWriMo Care Package, a little segment in which I give you writing advice, inspiration, and I let you know how my own NaNoWriMo experience is going. If you missed the first episode where I answer a couple of questions and I give my day 3 update, you can click on the annotation in the screen right now and I'll take you straight to it. Aside from that, let's just go straight in, dive in and answer a few of the questions that some of you sent my way. The question goes a little like this. Max, do you have any advice for revising and editing your story once the NaNoWriMo is over? I have one piece of advice. Just one. One piece of advice that I believe trumps everything else. And it goes a little like this. Do not edit your story once NaNoWriMo is over. Give it time. Put it in the back burner. Put it somewhere else. Put it in a drawer. Save it somewhere. And don't look at it for at least 3 weeks. A month is preferred, but at least 3 weeks. Those of you who are familiar with Neil Gaiman's 8 tips for writing, I think that's what it's called, that's actually one of his tips, and it's one of those tips that lingers around. A lot of writers use that tip, and I believe in it. It's one of the major parts of my creative process. Why? Why take time? I mean, you just finished the book, right? Why wait? Might as well just dive in. You can. Of course you can. I mean, I can't stop you. But you're asking me for my revision tips, and my number one tip, my number one all-time tip is to step back. Step away, don't touch the story, and gain some distance. Distance is incredibly important when revising your story, and you just don't have any distance when you just finish the story. What I mean by this is that, and I am not being mean or cruel when I say this. I'm saying this from experience because I felt these very same things in the past. That during the writing process, I struggle coming up with the word count and writing things and describing things. So it becomes hard for me to come to terms with cutting things out if I'm really close to the time when I wrote them. This is why I believe that you should not ever jump straight into December and start editing your book. You need the distance. You need to be able to step back, look at your stuff objectively, and ask yourself, does this actually need to be here? Because revision ultimately boils down to cutting things out. That's what it is, really. Cutting things, fixing things, tying things together, but ultimately just trimming the story down. And that can be incredibly hard if you just spent 30 days writing, 30 days building up that word count. And I can tell you from personal experience that there have been times when I would attempt to edit something really close after I finished it, and I would have difficulty coming to terms with actually doing the cutting. I would remember myself writing that and coming up with these really clever lines that don't actually have anything to do with the story and just kind of stick out like a sore thumb. You have to be able to step back, look at those things and just say, it's great, sure. I had fun writing it, sure, but it doesn't belong to the story. The point of the revision process is to create the best story possible, the best finished product possible. Again, as always, this is just merely my opinion, my biased and completely subjective way of looking at things. But if you're asking for my number one tip for revision, is that you should take time. Step away, go do something else, especially go write another book. That's a great way of killing time. Write another book. And once a few weeks have gone by, I like to do a month at the very least because it's a great way of just forgetting about the story. You forget about it, you pick it up, and then you start reading as though it was written by someone else. And it was. It was written by a different version of you, and that's okay. There is plenty of distance there already. You can now objectively look at things and start cutting. And of course, for those of you who are fans of my blog will know very well that I have made a really popular post on my tips for revision. I will have a link in the description below, so you can click on that and check it out. It's one of my most popular posts, and I am meaning to make that into a video. Though, of course, it's not gonna happen for a while because NaNoWriMo and work and books. So if you want to get a sneak peek for what that video would look like eventually, you can just click in the description below. It'll take you to one of my most popular posts on revision, and you can read all of my tips there. I hope that helps. Like, I actually really do hope that helps. I'm not trying to come off as like rude or sarcastic, but like seriously, step away from the story. It means so much. Trust me, okay? Trust me. It's really hard when you are like this close to the story. It's really hard to be able to just effectively make the changes. And I know that I may just be starting to going in circles again, but I've been in that spot. I've been in the situation where I didn't want to cut something because it was a lot of work. And yeah, it was a lot of work, but if it doesn't belong in the story and it's not making it better and it doesn't echo with the same melody as the rest of the story, it doesn't belong there. Yes, I had fun writing that one cool sentence or that one cool paragraph, but ultimately I want to create the best book possible. And that one paragraph will not stand in my way of making the best story possible. So, I hope that helps. Once again, step aside. Get some space, get some distance, and once this time has passed, look at the story objectively. Look at it as though it was written by someone else. Because it was. Next question. How do you resist the urge to edit? I don't mean to be condescending. I absolutely do not mean to come off as such. But this is one of those questions that I associate with people that are getting started with writing. Because I find that everyone eventually at some point comes to terms with this. And it's kind of like the ritual of passage, you know? It's like at first, everyone worries about the first line, everyone worries about getting everything right the first time, and people edit along the way. And as you become better at writing, you let go of all of those things. You let go of each and every single one of those negative traits. It's part of the writing process. Now, if you're asking me how I overcame the need to edit while I was in the middle of writing, well, I realized that it was getting in the way of finishing things. And those of you familiar with my origin story know this entire thing, and I will make a video about it eventually, but for now, all you need to know is this. I was in a very troubled time in my life, and I wanted to finish a book. And I realized that there were many things standing in my way. And I decided that I was going to send each and every single one of those things to hell. One of them was the urge to edit. And I think that everyone at some point or level in their career has had to come to terms with this particular trait. Personally, I am level-headed enough that I can admit why I was doing that. Because, and I'll be honest with you, I used to focus a lot on trying to make the story as best as possible because I was lazy. I wanted the story to be as best as possible the first time around, so during the revision process it would be easy. I thought I was just saving myself trouble for later. And ultimately I realized that that mentality was getting in the way of actually doing things. Also, it's really safe to keep going back to things to fix them because it keeps you from going forward. And again, there was a time in my life when I didn't finish books and when I just kept starting new book after new book because I wasn't getting things right. Because it wasn't the right time for me to tell this story, and those are all, of course, lies, by the way. What do you mean it's not the best time to tell that story? Right now it's the best time to tell that story. Also, if you already knew that was going to be my reaction to that question, give yourself 25 max points. That silliness aside, this is one of those things that kind of everyone overcomes over time. Again, I can only tell you how I came to terms with it. I really wanted to finish a book. Neil Gaiman kept talking about finishing things, and I wanted to finish things. I wanted to have a complete book with my name on it, and a bundle of ideas and characters that I had made all the way through. And I can tell you, and I think anyone who's finished a book can tell you, that finishing a book feels amazing. I want you to be honest with yourself. Like, actually be honest with yourself. Because I can tell you right now that, there is no perfectionism in the first draft. It doesn't matter. The first draft is always going to be a mess, so treat it like the mess it is, and then just clean it up later. One of the most empowering things that I've ever told people is to look at the first draft as what it really is, which is the most empowering part of the entire writing process. You know why? Because no one is going to see your filthy first draft. It's awesome! Once I realized that nobody had to see it until I showed it to them, it was amazing! I could write the whole first draft, put it aside, pick it up, revise it, do another revision, put it aside, pick it up again. Basically, treat it as though this evolved product, jumping from evolution stage to evolution stage to evolution stage. And then once I felt it was ready, or I felt that I had cleaned it up enough where even I couldn't find problems to it, I showed it to people. And everyone thinks you're a prodigy. It's silly. It's silly, and you can achieve the exact same just by not showing people your first drafts. It's empowering. The first draft can be awful. It can be incredibly bad, and it's okay because you're gonna fix it all later. The first draft is merely the foundation. So let that empower you. Like, NaNoWriMo is one, not about making a finished book, because 50,000 words doesn't really make a book. Books are so buried, it's just kind of like a silly thing to argue. But NaNoWriMo is about making the habit. And if you keep focusing yourself on looking back and fixing what you've already written, you're just kind of keeping yourself from developing the habit and moving forward. There will be time for you to fix all of those things later. There's always going to be time to fix those things later. But for now, use this time wisely and push forward. If you want to go out on adventures, then stop checking your pack and head out the door. Simple as that. And when I said that last line, if you picture like The Hobbit or Bilbo Baggins, minus 10 points because you're a giant nerd. Okay, only minus 5 points. I love you. All of you dumb nerds. And finally, one more question, because this is something that I get all the time, and I want to tackle it right now to make sure that all of you know my thoughts on it and my opinion on it. And the question goes a little like this. Max, how do you handle being sick during NaNoWriMo? It's kind of funny, huh? How, it's the end of autumn and leading into the beginning of winter, and it's getting colder, and for a lot of people, they're going to school, so they're surrounded by other people who can probably be hella sick. So it's not strange for people to be sick during the month of NaNoWriMo. Now, this is one of those things that I have been saying for a long time, is that if you are legitimately sick, like if you can't normally function as a normal human being, then you don't write. Again, personally, I totally support, and I am a believer of the idea that you should write every day. It's the best way to maintain momentum and to stay sharp, Except, of course, if you're sick and you clearly can't function, like you just have a really super runny nose, or you're really tired, or whatever it is. If you can't actually function, like if you couldn't drive like this, then you probably shouldn't be writing, because again, your body gives you signals. Your body knows better, and sometimes really it's better to actually stop and heal, really. Trust me, I am the first person in the world who will kick you in the butt and get you to write. But I am also the first person in the world who's going to look at your runny nose and your migraine and tell you to stop writing. But anyways, those are my thoughts. Yeah, it can be incredibly sucky if you're in the middle of NaNoWriMo and you get sick and you can't write for like a week or a couple of days or even just one day. But you know what? As I mentioned in the previous video, NaNoWriMo is not at all about the word count. The word count is just arbitrary. It's just there to make a point, because you need to have some sort of basis by which you can judge your success. But the success in NaNoWriMo is your ability to develop the habit. So, if you're really sick, and it can entirely happen, especially for all of you people who go to schools or college and are surrounded by tons of germs everywhere, it's entirely likely that you're gonna get sick. And it happens. So if you are sick, heal up, take some time, step back, relax. And once you're back in top shape, when you're back in top shape, get back into writing. I hope that helps. That's about all the questions I want to cover right now. Just a really quick behind the curtain information. This video almost didn't happen. As you can tell by the lighting or the lack of lighting, it's really late. I finished, I'll talk about this in the update, but I finished writing really late. And for like a good 2 hours of work, I was thinking to myself, you know what? I don't think I'm going to do an update video. But you know why I went ahead and did it? Why I pushed a little overtime and make sure to have this video out? Because a bunch of you liked the video and sent me comments and sent me really sweet messages, and I thought, well, hell, if it helps somebody else, I'll sacrifice a couple of hours. Big freaking deal. And I'm not trying to sound like cool. I don't even know what that even means, but I'm not trying to sound like big-headed or anything. People send me sweet messages, and people seem to appreciate the videos, and I thought, hell, I can spend, an hour and a half getting this video done, and so there's actually like a video like I wanted it to. So I did. All of that being said, we're about to move on to the second half of this video, in which I talk about my personal update. Before I go there though, if you have writing questions you would like me to answer in next video, please let me know. Post it in the comments below, and I will probably most likely get to it. Again, I have limited time. It's entirely likely that I may miss a couple, or I may just blast through all of them in one of these videos when I have more time. Regardless though, if you have questions, post them below and I will get to them in time. With that out of the way, let's go over to my personal update. I don't know why I'm like, am I like charging up to go into like Super Saiyan? I don't know. For a second there, I thought of like doing something silly, like asking people to like Photoshop like Super Saiyan hair on me for like max points, but that's just silly. Too silly. 100 points. Tweet at Mr. Kieran on Twitter. Right, so it is day 5, and it should be indicative of how tired I am, the fact that I had to actually check that and actually Google that. Not Google it, it's on my map. On my calendar. Sure, I'm not gonna do another take, I'm just gonna keep that take. Regardless, again, before I begin, let me just remind you all that if you wanna follow up my updates as they actually happen, you can follow me on Twitter at Mr. Kieran. I've been posting lots of things, lots of silly jokes, lots of silly happenings in my books, and replying to people. So if you would like to do that, or that sounds exciting at all, why am I moving my hands? Just follow me on Twitter. I'm kind of tired, but I'll keep my balance. Regardless, it is day 5. In the previous update, we were up to 10,000 words. Well, a little over 10,000. 10,568 words to be exact. Yesterday, because I'm shooting this video on the 5th, by the way. Yesterday, the 4th, was a pretty good day. I actually I wrote like the second highest word count of NaNoWriMo to date. Yesterday I wrote 3,677, that's for day 4. And today I had a bit of a happening, I'll talk about it, but today's word count is 3,094, a little on the shorter side, I know. So, yesterday was a really weird day, and it's funny because looking back, well, I thought my word count was way lower, now that I was looking at it a day after, and I'm surprised that I got so many words out. Yesterday was like a magical day. Why? And it's gonna be like the nerdiest thing. Yesterday we saw the release of a new game, a little game by the name of The Binding of Isaac Rebirth. It's a really, really silly game, but I've been looking forward to it for ages. And I have a bit of a history with this game. I follow tons of YouTubers who play it. My artist and I love the game. And the funniest / silliest part of it all is that the guy who makes the game lives like in the same town. He has like offices like in downtown where I go and get coffee all the time. It's ridiculous. Isn't that ridiculous? Like, seriously, like, it's... The world feels so small sometimes. It's freaking ridiculous. If you think that is ridiculous, give yourself 1 max point. If you don't think that's ridiculous, you're probably hella cool and I don't like you, so minus 20 max points. Yeah, I'm taking points back. Yeah, no. A bunch of you were, like, talking about how many points you got boasting, like, showing off. I'm like, no. Just like I can give, I can take away. Just like I can giveth, I can taketh away. That sounds bad. Yeah, right? I was reciting that in my head, and I'm like, no. More Shakespeare. So yeah, the game came out yesterday, and I'm not gonna lie, I spent a lot of time yesterday mildly screwing around on the internet, watching other people play the game. So that's how I spent the day. It's funny because looking back on it, I didn't think that I got that much writing done, and I got like the second highest amount of words. With all of that silliness out of the way, though, where's my writing at? I was really excited for Rebirth. Okay. Now I do have a couple of things that I want to talk about, but I'm gonna leave them until I'm done with the general update. So today, the 5th, was a bit of a strange day. As you can tell, my word count was the lowest of the entire competition so far. It's been the lowest so far, and I could feel it. I wasn't feeling too well today. I was a little off, and it didn't help the fact that my writing software, my computer crashed, and my writing software, Focuswriter, being the champ that it is, actually saved my writing. I lost nothing. I lost 0 sentences. It was amazing. So that was nice, but I still had to like reboot my computer, run everything else back up. I have a lot of things running in the background, so I had to like get everything, working again in unison. So that broke my momentum, and I had to get back into things. That, and I had to stop in the middle of a chapter, which I don't like doing, but the time was up. I needed to get rolling, and I needed to start getting this video done. So that's what happened today. First crash of NaNoWriMo, but no casualties as of date. With that out of the way, there's actually a couple of things that I wanted to talk about. Silly things that happened during the writing process. So in the previous video, I mentioned that girl, the protagonist of my book, is kind of vulgar in her speech. And, I'm getting used to that. Like I'm pretty good about getting in character, especially when the story is told in first-person narration. So I just kind of get used to how vulgar they are. And I embrace it. You should always embrace how your characters are. If you want to take one piece of advice from this silly video, is that you should embrace your characters. Ultimately, no matter what your outline says or what you thought the characters were going to be, the characters are always right. So, girl is really vulgar, like incredibly vulgar. And in the chapter from yesterday, the 4th, she had one joke near the end of the chapter that was so incredibly obscene that I had to stop and ask myself, can I get away with this? I wrote it, and then I read it, and I'm like, because it was the end of the chapter, so I knew that I could actually stop. Generally I wouldn't, but it was the end of the chapter. It's kind of like the little punchline at the end of that chapter, and I'm like, man, this is obscene, incredibly obscene, like spit take obscene. And generally the way that I measure things like this is that I get myself in the mindset of my editor, who's a dear friend of mine, whose opinion I value a lot. And I would get in her head and think, okay, if Kitty was reading this, how would she react? Would she go, ew, no? Or would she go, excuse me? And I think her reaction is going to be the latter. Ultimately, as I mentioned in the past, I don't like to censor my characters, and when girl made that incredibly obscene joke, I stopped, not because I wanted to censor her, but because I wanted to make sure that this joke, as ridiculous as it was, fit within the general idea of the book. And it did. It actually entirely did. It was, as always, of course, it fell down to me being afraid of the story being too radical as opposed to, the story not being right. Of course, as I mentioned, let your characters grow, embrace them. I was a little worried about girls' use of language all over the place and incredibly colorful insults, but I got used to it, and I just embraced it now. It's fun. Like, I'm 1/3 through this book already, and she's ridiculous. I love her. She's amazing. Incredibly silly. And aside from that, and this is going to be like the silliest part of this video. No, prepare yourself for how silly this part of the video is. Earlier today, I posted a tweet. And in this tweet, I said something to the effect that this character that I thought was cool turned out to not be cool. And unfortunately, once again, this character turns out to be just a giant nerd. And this happens every once in a while. All the time, actually. I come up with characters and I'm like, oh, I bet this character is hella cool. And then I just realize they're all a bunch of nerds. And it happens, and it's actually kind of lovely, and I don't mind it. But I wanted to share with you the moment when I realized this. I'm introducing a new character in this chapter of Shoujo's Bizarre Adventure. And it's a character external to all other characters you have met before. She's entirely unrelated to them. And she is kind of this contrasting character who doesn't look imposing physically, but she has an imposing personality. Vibrant red hair, hella tough, and kind of silly. My type of character. And she appears, and of course, as I'm brainstorming, because this was during the outlining process, I was thinking, okay, what song is playing when the camera turns towards her corner of the cafe and she's sitting there? And the first song that came to mind was Boom Clap. So that happened. That was a thing that happened. My editor boasts of the fact that she has an incredibly bad musical taste. And sometimes I feel that I can rival her. I'm not saying that song is bad. What I'm saying is that my musical taste is not exactly focused in one particular area. I listen to pretty much everything, and my musical library is kind of a patchwork of a mess. So, and I mean, I didn't even own Boom Clap. I kind of had to go and get it because I realized as I was thinking of that character, in that moment, when the camera just pans in her direction and she's right there. And I'm like, what song is playing on the jukebox? And my immediate reaction was Boom Clap, and I have no idea why. But it was a sort of moment where I was like, looking at the character, and I'm like, you're supposed to be cool, but you're not. You're a big nerd like the rest of them. I do like the song, though, because I'm also a giant nerd. But I just like the idea that, I would be, like, sitting there waiting for, like, the cool moment to happen, and it's just kind of like pop music. And I'm like, well, this character is not only hella tough and has a totally awesome attitude, but she also loves pop music. All of my characters are just dumb nerds. But, as I mentioned, you must embrace the dumbness and the nerdiness of your characters. Unless you're like that one cool person who actually has like cool characters, in which case I envy you. -5 max points if you actually have cool characters. Oh man, I'm just knocking you all out today. That's what you get. You're getting too comfortable. That first video, everyone was like, I've got so many max points. And I'm like, not anymore. I will give you more opportunities for max points later. Actually, I'm gonna give you a chance for some more points right at this very moment. If today, the day you're watching this video, that is, if you have already written by the time you have watched this video, give yourself 10 max points. And if you are just about to go get writing once this video is done, give yourself 5 max points. How about that, huh? With all of that silliness out of the way, I think that I have gone on for long enough. I mean, really, if I have to say anything else about my writing process for the next couple of days, is that I'm a little worried about what I'm going to be doing once I am finished with Shoujo. I feel that Shoujo is going to go long, which means it's going to be probably a 40k. in the grim darkness of the far future, there's only girls fighting girls. Wow, if you actually could make out the joke there, if you could actually understand the reference that I was making, give yourself 10 max points. Regardless, I know my head is fluctuating between all these ideas of things that I can make or stories I can pick up. And in the middle of the madness, I even thought of continuing the sequel, on doing the sequel for Raven's Gem, which is I'm not gonna tell you I almost told you the title. Bad Max. I was planning on writing the sequel for one of my one of the novels that I already have out, but it's all up in the air right now. I'm not sure. It's all a matter of what seems the most fun at the moment, because NaNoWriMo is kind of a marathon, and if I force myself to write a book, it's not gonna be fun. So it's all in the process. Tomorrow I'm not gonna be in the office, so I hope I'm able to actually write like a decent work count. I should have a couple of hours to sit down and write, so that should be enough, though I don't know. We're gonna have to see. Thursdays are like my toughest day, so we'll see how that goes. Regardless of that, though, I hope you have been having a great NaNoWriMo adventure, and if you haven't been feeling too well and you think you're getting sick, it is entirely okay to clock out a little early. The last thing you want is to have to take an entire day off or several days off, because your body has finally caught up with you. So take it easy and make sure to keep writing. I know that NaNoWriMo can be incredibly daunting, but we're already on day 5, almost at 10. As I've mentioned in the past, if you can make it to day 10, you're gonna complete NaNoWriMo. It's just about building the habit. Even I myself, I'm dealing with a little bit of a trouble because I just finished like a long campaign getting a book out, and I hadn't been writing for like a month and a half. So, even for me, getting back into things, it's kind of a stark contrast. It's like kicking a bad habit. Nailed it. Anyways, all of that incredible silliness aside, I wish you the best of luck on your writing adventures, and if you have any questions you would like me to answer, or if you would just like to let me and the rest of the commenters know about how your adventure has been going, let us all know. What are you writing? How have you been doing? And of course, as I mentioned in the previous video, if you want to add me as a writing buddy on NaNoWriMo, you can do so. My name will be on the screen. I can't spell it because I am a scrub lord, so there you go. With all of that ridiculous silliness out of the way, finally we have the closing. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like. It actually does mean a lot to me. And subscribe if you want more. There's plenty of writing exercises, challenges, and writing advice on the channel. Once the nano is over, I'm gonna go back to making more formal videos, like my tips for revision and my favorite music to write to, and many other stuff like that. It's all just a matter of getting NaNoWriMo done and out of the way. That being said, if you would like even more writerly content, such as writing advice, writer positivity, prompts, character questions, you name it, head over to my writing blog over at maxkieran.tumblr.com. Thank you for watching, writerly friend, and thankfully there have been like no cars today, because it's like so dark outside. I guess the cars retreat to their caves, I guess. Or burrows, I guess. That would be more fitting now that I think about it. Regardless, though, nobody's gonna interrupt me this time. I wish you the best of luck. Keep writing. I know it can be really hard, but I know you can overcome it, okay? Remember that every day you keep writing is a day that you're building a stronger, better momentum. And the better you will be overall, okay? Best of luck to you. And until the time we meet again, mwah!